Morning. Yeah. Soggy day.
Yeah, Judge. But it was horrible out there at 3 o'clock.
Oh, I
The
can
biggest
imagine.
hassle.
All right, the court will please come to order. We've got a quorum present, all of our members are here, all of our legal notices have been posted, and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Bailiff will please open court.
Rise. The Dallas County Commissioners Court special call meeting is now in session. The Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. You may be seated.
All right. First up is our public hearing on the Dallas County Redistricting Proposed Plan for JPs and Constables. Is there a motion to open that hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And now we'll have, I guess, Mr. Engel, someone lay out the maps for us?
Yes.
Good morning.
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 Mr. Martin is there. So,
And Matt, while we're all familiar with you, for the record, name, who you are.
okay, I'm Matt Engel, and I'm consultant to help with the county with mapping with Engel Strategies. Also, I have with me here my associate, Adriana Mayberry. And what I'm going to do is walk through, look at the benchmark map and look at 3 proposed reconfigurations of the Justice of the Peace districts. The first will be, of the reconfigurations, will be a 5-district plan. With the instructions on that plan was to not pair incumbents, to retain the core of the districts to the degree that we can, to try to reduce the deviation discrepancies to the degree that's practical, and knowing that in the justice of the peace districts, there's not a standard in terms of deviation. And then also to have them better reflect politically the behavior of the county. And so I'll start by looking at the benchmark map. And as you can see, this is, you really have a center city JP5, and then with JP4 kind of hugging the eastern boundary of the district, of the county, and then with the others on the perimeter. Currently, in the JP map, there's a significant deviation difference that 5 is 16, almost 17% below the ideal deviation. District 3 is over 13%, and so you've got almost a 30% deviation there. And so the desire was to try to correct that, but also not lose the character of the districts themselves overall, and not pair incumbents if we could avoid it. And so in reconfiguring it, and I'll go, well, let me start also, though, to talk about the political nature and behavior of the districts also. As you can see, I'll draw your attention to what I think is really the kind of the baseline number to look at. On the second table in 2018, if you look over the governor's percentage, that was the race between Governor Abbott and former Sheriff Lupe Valdez. And as you can see, that Commissioner Valdez carried 4 of the districts relatively easily, but lost District 3. So District 3 was really kind of the outlier in that district, or among the districts. So as we look at the first alternative, this is demonstration map A. Again, it's a 5-district map, and I'm going to go to a revised version of this because what we made was a slight revision in this map that really just moved about 2 precincts to move the East Dallas Government Center that's right above I-30. And what we did was under this map, it had gone into District 3. Commissioner Price asked that it be returned to District 5, which is what we did. So the next map that you see will statistically be the same as this one, and you'll only have a slight change, and you'll see it right up, and I'll point it out when we get to it. And then here's this map again, and if you'll follow I-30 to the east, you'll see now that District 5 just goes above I-30 just a little bit. Well, that's where the East Dallas Government Center
Mr.
is.
Engel, if it's at all possible, because that switch there was important, and it brings an important point that the government centers, or where the justices of the peace are currently located, should be indicated on this map in order to get, for the public to really, properly examine it. Is it possible that we can get something like that and get it up on the website within the next?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
But for the record, that was the only one, when I started looking at the maps, that was the only one that was not in the precinct. As you said, it was in 3 as opposed to 5.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's that problem, but then there's also the problem of extreme distances. I mean, in looking at 4 as it's conceived here, that's quite a haul from top to bottom.
Well, if, I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Where is the government center in Fort?
It's in Grand Prairie.
Right. So that means that if you're in the
Right, so
far,
if you're in Carrollton or something.
if you're in Coppell, you got
Well,
ways to go.
yeah, well, I mean, we can say that about any of the districts, and when you look at,
Here's the
Isn't
benchmark.
Grand Prairie relatively close to 30?
yeah,
Okay, so that's kind of in the middle then.
it's in the middle.
Right.
Exactly.
And
That's-
it's
that's-
equidistant to almost all of them.
Exactly.
So you will
And
have
that's-
the same.
This is the benchmark district, and as you see, District 4 now runs from Irving all the way south, and then back east to DeSoto.
okay.
And
See, so that's what I'm saying, no different.
Yeah.
Well,
but
it's no different because, as I said, if you look at, where you look at 1, you look at 4, as I said, 5 was the only one where all it was the freeway.
Yeah, there's not much difference. It's whatever the town, whatever the Farmers Branch is in the new map, it wasn't in the old map. Carrollton, Coppell, the new map, not old.
There's a couple of things about this map that I wanted to point out. One is that the the point that Commissioner Koch brought out, is that it still runs from the southern part of the county to the northern part of the county. There's a reason for that, is that you've got incumbents that are in DeSoto. And if they weren't there, then it might make some sense to move it, but they do live there, and the instruction was not to pair incumbents and to try to hold the core of the district together. But under this map, Duncanville moves into the Commissioner's District in the south, but DeSoto is the only city that's split under this map. And the reason that it's split is because of the incumbency purposes. As you can see, also, the population in District 5 has grown enough now in the adjacent areas that can be a full district. It was intentionally underpopulated, as you'll recall, Commissioner Garcia, several years ago. And so the idea was to now bring that back into deviation. And when you do that, the deviation in this entire map is about 15. So it cuts the deviation from the benchmark map about in half.
In half, right.
What is the lowest population district and the highest population district?
In this map, just so I don't make a mistake, let me over to it. The lowest is District 1 at 9%, a little over 9%, and the highest is 4 at a little over 5%. So it's about a 15% total deviation.
Right.
Okay.
But keep in mind, the benchmark map is 30.
Yeah.
It's 30, so.
And again, the effort here was to try to keep communities of interest, neighborhoods together, and to not split cities unless it was absolutely necessary. And again, DeSoto is split for the purpose of making sure that incumbents weren't paired out and had a chance to run in the district they were elected in.
Yeah, Dallas.
Dallas, obviously, but also isn't Irving split here?
No.
Irving is not split. Irving's whole
no,
here.
it's not.
As you can see,
Just DeSoto.
under the benchmark map, it's not split either, but here we add to it Coppell, Carrollton, and Farmers Branch is now added to District 4,
Yeah. The only city that's split is
or
DeSoto.
5, excuse me.
Okay.
From a political standpoint, it evens things out a little bit in that now if you'll look again at the second table, 2018, and at the governor's race, you'll see that there are now, while District 3 remains competitive, it is now more reflects really overall what's happening in the county. That would be, again, an opportunity for the incumbents to be reelected, but also that they would be in a district in which they would have to compete to win. The next map
Also makes District 2 competitive, right?
Well, District 2 is currently, it keeps it about the same. And the truth of the matter is, again, that no candidate who won countywide, and Dallas County, as you know, everybody running countywide won in Dallas County, performed at a lower level than Lupe Valdez in 2018. Every judicial candidate running in a contested race, and any average of them, that number is always higher than that Valdez versus Abbott number. All right, the next map that I've been was asked to do was to do a 4-district map, looking at the justice piece and doing 4 districts. I've done that in this map. What I tried to do was, again, pay attention to city boundaries, communities of interest. Obviously, there'd be less emphasis on incumbency at that point because it's impossible to not make sure that somebody's paired up. But and what you see is basically a map in which District 4 would be much like the Commissioner's Court precincts would be to the east. Excuse me, to the west. District 2 would be up into the northeast corner, and District 3 at the top, and then District 3 across the bottom. And so this evens the population. There's almost no deviation between the 3. It's just a policy decision, quite frankly, as to whether or not the court would want to go this direction.
And does our workload justify 10 JPs?
10, Well, it is, and I will have, Dr. Watkins is gonna be here after Matt to talk about it. It's not that, Judge, it's the pairing. And when you do 4, you know, you basically, where we have all GPs, everybody's paired up.
Yes, you
Well,
put
if you're gonna-
incumbents against other
I
incumbents.
didn't ask for this map, but just, you know, thinking out loud here, if our workload justifies 10 JPs, then wouldn't you just have 2 of these districts that have 3 places and 2 that have 2 places?
That what?
What was the reason for this map? Is there a belief that our 2 we over JP'd, or what was this?
Well, again, we're gonna have Dr. Watkins talk about performance, metric, how it has performed over the last 10 years. You know, Judge, in the last 30 years, we've only had 1 district, and that was because of the issue of incumbency. She had been elected, and so we had 1 JP, and it was in the north, that had 3. Everything else, we've always been able to justify 2, because these are, you know, as you say, service districts, they're working districts. And I think we're gonna hear that this morning, not only from testimony, but we're also gonna hear that from Dr. Watkins in terms of performance.
Correct.
You did, but I got
The
Dr.
one
Watkins.
that I asked.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, it's not as though we have been presenting all along, even through the pandemic, how these offices have been performing. They're service districts. And so, anyway, okay. Exactly. But all of them didn't perform equally during the pandemic, but that's a whole nother story.
Now, as you can see, just in terms of explanation, it's obvious that when you draw 4 from 5, that one of them goes away. And what we did was keep the core in 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 5. Much of the western part of 5 ends up into a District 4, and then the western part ends up being divided among the 3 other districts. And again, it's just a policy decision as to whether you would want to do that.
But also, on this map, again, you're splitting up cities.
In this map, the city, there's no city boundaries that are split other than the city of Dallas. You've got Garland and Mesquite pretty much being the dominant forces in District 2. You'd have Richardson and the suburban communities across the northern part of the county in 3. Then to the west, you would have Irving and Grand Prairie, and then of course you'd have the city of Dallas and the southwest Dallas counties, Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill, really dominating the southern district.
Yeah, I know most of the rest of the county doesn't worry about, but I've got cities like Balk Springs.
Yep.
I got, Sigerville, I got smaller cities, and I have incumbents that reside in those cities.
Yeah.
And
And Balk Springs, as you know, Commissioner, it's very strategically placed there, and so as you move it, it really affects the deviation in these districts.
I got it.
And just to look at the politics of this, obviously, you can, with 4 districts, as we know, you can make those, once you just divide the county logically from the standpoint of cities, it ends up with all 4 districts being Democratic, with the most competitive one being District 3, with Lupe Valdez over 50%. So be somewhat competitive, but certainly favor Democrats. The last map that I was asked to configure is an 8-district map. And again, I tried very hard in this configuration to try to hold cities together. And what you see is really 3 districts that are inside the loop there, and then another 5 that are outside, that are more or less with the influence being the suburban communities. The only city split that's in this map is Irving, as you can see there, and you have to split Irving in order to deal with the population deviations. Otherwise, they get out of hand if you try to do that. And again, it's a policy decision as to whether or not you want to go to 8 districts. I would There's currently, in terms of JPs and constables, there's 15, I believe. And so if you had, one constable, 2 JPs, you have 16 under these circumstances, but I don't know in terms of your resources whether that's what you want to do. But again, it's a policy decision.
And
You
the,
would lose 2 JPs, or you would have 2 districts that have 2 places?
No, yeah, in age, you have 2 places, but that's what so we've been there,
yeah.
we've been down that road before. Yeah, we've been there before.
It will be
And-
very hard to consolidate in the future, so. What about the gerrymandering over here, Mr. Angle? Would that pass muster at all?
I'm sorry,
The
Commissioner?
gerrymandering that it goes here?
Well, what it is that in each of the districts that are outside the loop there, there's a suburban community that would be dominant within that, for the most part, at least one. And then, obviously, the 3 districts in the middle really are dividing up parts of the city of Dallas. The political characteristics would be what you would expect. The ones in the center are very democratic. They're a little bit more competitive outside, except for the district in the south. But the political behavior under this map, though, is, again, with 2 of the districts that are relatively competitive, but still favor Democrats, and I'll go to that.
And would
But
their
the-
office need to be in their district?
Sure,
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we have space in these 8 districts?
no, we do not. And again, these are service districts. This, even looking at our criteria, these are service districts. And again, Dr. Watkins probably, will speak to it, but, the 5 we have now in terms of performing, when you look at what they've done over, this entire decade in terms of performance, 8, Houston has 8. Houston has almost 5 million people, 4.7, I think.
Correct.
Yeah. So they got 8 districts. And so, and then when you look at the numbers from Office of Court Administration, how could we justify 8 districts?
We can't manage this.
No.
There's no way. We
No.
can't get
Okay,
juries
I'm
across
just-
all the
I'm just-
places. We can't
I-
get spaces for
Just
them.
taking off the
Yeah,
table.
but jury selection, it'd be more convenient, wouldn't it?
It would be, you'd be closer, but, that's
It'll
just
be,
more
what did you say,
administration.
Commissioner? I can hear
They
you.
can,
Selection would be more convenient if you have more locations like this.
Jury service, right, yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be closer to where, but still, we don't have a
Yeah,
place.
but again, the
Depending on-
Constitution says we can have no fewer than 4, no more than 8. Houston has 8.
Well, sure.
Harris
but I
County.
mean, Little counties with 50,000 people have 4, so,
Because the Constitution says they can't have any less.
but I think there's a lot of arguments against this, but I'm not sure that's, well, whatever. What's compelling to one person may not be compelling.
Well, Judge, it's about service.
exactly, and once we hear Dr.
The closer we
Watkins,
get people to their,
But Judge, it's about,
the better.
yeah, well, Judge,
I'm not saying I'm for this, but.
right, I hear you. But the reason, and again, if the court, well, I don't know if the court was called, nobody here, I guess, but me. But we've been down this road, and we took it all the way, to the 5th Circuit and up the road, and we compressed it from 8 to 5.
right,
And we did that purposely with demographics, and we were able to display service within those districts. And again, if you look at the performance, they have performed.
Well, I guess, for me, in part, that answers the question. If it was a good decision then, based on the criteria, and for the most part, it's borne itself out, then I don't see any reason to deviate from 5.
I totally agree. That's the point I'm making.
It's more convenient for the citizens. So you talk about service for whom?
Well, I guess, to bear that out, though, you would need to figure out the capital cost, right? What would it cost?
absolutely.
No, and finding office space, et cetera, that would be
No, and that would be a challenge, like Commissioner Price said, we already been through.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the consolidation, the management that we have done in the last 10 years, I mean, this will definitely move it away from where we've been trying to get.
Yeah.
Which is more effective, better, more management, and less deferred maintenance. And better service for our constituents because we have, exactly the number of people that will provide that service based on the numbers of the service they provide.
Well, under that theory then, and I'm just playing devil's advocate with this, but would not the 4-district map with 3 places in 2 districts, so you've got a total of 10 JPs, and as big as those districts are, you wouldn't have you'd have 2 or 3 incumbents in a district, but they wouldn't be paired against each other because you'd have 3 places in those districts. Would that not be more efficient than a 5-district map?
Well, that's a good point. What?
From the capital cost perspective, I
Yeah.
think we need to see the map. and
Because
things are placed.
what you're gonna have to do, Judge, and operationally, is you're gonna have to create, in fact, when you give instruction, then put the courthouses in there, but when you've got operational, you got some other capital costs gonna come along.
Yeah, but having 4 as opposed to 5, wouldn't that cut our capital costs?
No,
Wouldn't that allow?
no, Judge, you just said, you're gonna have 2 districts with 3. Where you get the other courthouse in each one of them? You're not, he didn't get, he didn't get instructions other than say get a full map, but he did not, it's the same thing Commissioner Scott asked about a few minutes ago. Where are the courthouses in District 4? I mean, in the 4 precinct map.
Since
We're
we-
just pushing all these out for the public to look at anyway, but quickly, could we get the courthouses poked onto the map, onto all the maps?
On all of the maps, Mr. Engel.
Yep.
If you can put the courthouses.
Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll move those over to Mr. Martin today.
But, my position is still the same, but okay.
I have a few questions also, Mr. Angle. And I know this has been a back and forth, with the maps, and I understand that. But looking at the election analysis, the bottom line totals vary between benchmark map A and revised map A. Shouldn't the total votes received by the candidates be the same on each map?
In terms of the totals, if you change the boundaries, it shouldn't, but let me look at that and see whether there's a
Yeah, you're right.
discrepancy.
You're 100%
Commissioner, there
right.
may be, and we may need to revise that.
Yes, because for example, under benchmark map, O'Rourke received a total of 481,411 votes. Under map A, he received 379,551. That's a difference over
Yeah,
100,000 votes.
Yeah, we'll
That's
check
the-
that. There
that's
may
the
be a
same-
discrepancy
that's the
there.
same thing,
Shouldn't
yeah.
those numbers be the same?
Yeah, they should be, or negligible difference if there is, so we will check that. You
Yeah,
probably
that's the
found
same
an
thing in
error there.
2020 too.
Well,
Yeah.
In 2020,
But
holy cow, yeah. I mean, you look at the 2020 lines, Trump 300,000.
We'll review these tables, and we'll update them if
Those are
they're,
way the heck
assuming
off.
it's necessary.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Well, any
Well,
other
that,
questions?
oh, my.
We go to public speakers now?
Yeah, we see a lot of JPs here who I'd love to hear from.
Thank you.
With that, let's move to our public speakers. Bella, will you please read the rule of decorum for our public speakers?
All Commissioner Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. The visitors and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraint. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one signed-up speaker, and that's Constable Orozco, but you don't have to be signed up in a public hearing to
Right.
speak. If anybody wants to speak, they can speak. Come on up, Constable.
Good morning, County Judge and Commissioners. For the record, I am Constable Michael Roscoe, Dallas County Precinct 5. Currently reside at 5016 Groom Lane, Dallas, Texas, 75227. I'm here to voice my support for the revised Map A being presented. This is the best option of the 3 maps currently being presented. Since 2001, Dallas County went from 8 to 5 precincts, and over the last 20 years, we have transitioned successfully, but furthermore, new construction was done based upon a 5-precinct system. Map B should not be an option. We are the second most populated county in the state of Texas. Being the second largest county of Texas, it would be a disservice to our Dallas County citizens in making them travel much further distances to receive services our offices provide. Of the top 10 most populated counties in the state of Texas, only 30% have 4 precincts, while 70% have 5 precincts or more. Map C is going backwards to what we have now adjusted to, a 5-precinct system. More elected official salaries would have to be paid. More leases needed to be made to create office space for additional precincts, or new build construction would have to be done. Map C would not be cost effective. Map A is the best option that has been presented. The map is reflective in the growth of our counties has had and continues to evolve into since 2010 until the 2020 census numbers. Anglo population has decreased 8%. Black population has increased by 5.72%, while Hispanic population has increased by 16.5%. Map A provides the best opportunity to serve our constituents and reflective of the most recent census.
Map A revised.
Yes, Map A revised.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Constable.
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, are there any public speakers?
Yes. We got it.
Come on up.
Good morning. I do thank you for allowing us to have a moment to speak on this. My name is Tracy Gully. I'm the constable for Dallas County Precinct 1. Along with,
Constable, pull that mic down, please.
okay.
Thank you. Perfect.
Along with my JPs, Valencia Nash and Judge Thomas G. Jones. I can say that just like each and every one of you, you fuss, fight, but you work together. I will say this is one time, maybe more than once, that I totally agree with Orozco. We fuss and we fight, but I agree with what he said when it comes to saying that the revised AMAP would be more effective for us. First of all, let me explain something to some of those of you who are unaware. I can speak for Precinct 1, what takes place, and not to toot our own horn, but we are number 1 for a reason, and that you can check your records on. See, during the pandemic, when a lot of you were at home Zooming, we at the constable's office Zoomed to work. We didn't shut down. As essential workers, we had to keep going to serve the community. So contrary to what some of you believe and say, oh, they're just constables or they're just JPs and they're issuing papers, let me break it down to you. A paper is not just a paper. And I've heard Commissioner Price say this so many times that I sat in the Commissioner's Court for so many years that budget really needs to take a good look at what it takes to serve these papers. These papers are stamped, dated, time sensitive, but you have to look at the service within these precincts and districts and see why these 5 precincts are the best choice. We at Precinct 1 are effective, efficient, and engaged in our community to get the job done. We serve more probate and publications than any other precinct. Along with the others, they do the same, and property sales as well. So based on our district, we're able to serve the community. And with that being said, we appreciate you, Commissioner Price, as well as Dr. Garcia, at even looking at the fact that several of the incumbents will be in the same precinct if you go with other maps, and we would have to possibly run against each other, which is ludicrous to me. But according to Map A, the revised map, this will be the best fit with the community having 5 constables or 5 precincts.
Bless you. Constable, let me ask you something, and I'm going to, Dr. Watkins, Ronica Watkins is here, our budget director, and the court has heard over the years, presentation over the year, because I've asked that we present. But let me just ask you something. When you say a paper is not just a paper, what's the difference between a writ a forcible and, a writ of sequestration, just for purpose of the record, does it take the same amount of time in terms of your officers and you being able to manage that process?
No,
Okay.
it does not. Not at all. It depends on what type of paper it is, and the judges, JPs, can definitely speak on that. But no, it does not.
And as such, one takes, there's no real allocation when budget, and again, Dr. Watkins has inherited budget, but there's no real assessment of how much time it takes to manage those papers.
No,
Okay.
not at all.
As precinct 1, I think the law says that if out-of-county papers come into a jurisdiction, they come into the numbered as precinct 1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we get the majority of the out-of-county papers as well.
Right, exactly. And as such, there is an appropriation that the court has considered, the Commissioner's Court has considered over the years for what they call I call it a drop delivery. I don't know what you guys refer to it as, where you able to drop those papers in one central location. Okay. However, you have to do the follow-up.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Have you over the past decade, since this has been, these 5 precincts have performed, have you seen an increase in the performance in precinct 1?
Oh, yes. Regardless of the pandemic, definitely a big increase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you getting ready to say something?
No, I
Okay.
agree. I think at this time, the map A, revised map A, takes care of all the needs of Dallas County, knowing, and I will wait until Dr. Watkins makes her presentation. I mean, we're about to have evictions. We're about to have a lot of the issues post-pandemic that
Yes.
are going to be coming into all the JP courts
Okay.
and constables' offices. So thank you so much.
And we thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know, one of the things that I also wanted to put on the record, I would like to see an analysis, Mr. Angle, also of the lower races at the end of the ballot, if you can put some of the data, since we're going to look into that. One of the questions was that, sometimes a lot of these positions are at the end of the ballot. I would like to see, the difference on Latino population voting as well.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to ask for, especially given the lack of straight ticket. This will be the first non-presidential year where there won't be a straight ticket vote. Just why that we show those, and I probably didn't say this clearly before, is that Lupe Valdez versus Abbott, good or bad, that's kind of the bottom line. That was really the lowest performer. But you're right, though, we should look at down ballot and know that there is a relative drop-off in terms of the number of people participating in those elections. So we will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Angle, I appreciate it. Correct.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Heckle. Good point.
Good morning. My name is Juan Hasso, Justice of Peace, Precinct 5, Place 2. Judge Sarah Martinez had to get back to court talking about service because she does have an eviction docket. We're in the process of getting moved also, so we got people loading out boxes and taking us to the new building, so I'm going to have to leave as well. But just to concur with Constable Orozco, we're all in agreement as far as the maps are concerned, and that would be A. I think it keeps us revised. I think that would keep us more or less as communities of interest. When I was first elected, we actually had all of Pleasant Grove, and that was taken out at the subsequent redistricting, and now it's kind of coming back home in a sense. And we always had that connection, even though the courthouse was in Oak Cliff and on St. Francis now as well. We always had that connection with Pleasant Grove, and it's kind of bringing it back home in a sense, because that's a huge Hispanic community that I think complements the other part of the precinct as well. And as always, Constable Orozco was more eloquent as far as the data is concerned, but from a gut feeling, we like the revised map A. And thank you. I do have to run as well, but if anybody has any questions, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Judge.
Judge Whitfield is coming forward. Judge Jones. No, go ahead.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Judge, and our man downtown, that's Commissioner Price. Thank you for this opportunity.
Commissioner.
Can't you raise the mic? Thank you.
Oh, I'm Thomas G. Jones. I'm the judge and the justice of the Peace Court Precinct 1, Place 1. To my left is my mentor, Judge Nash, Justice of the Peace Precinct 1, Place 2. I just want to briefly say that we are here to demonstrate our support for the Map A, the revised version of it, and we support that. I've heard the word service. What we would like to do is just talk about some of the service that we provide in Precinct 1. FE&Ds, the pre-pandemic, we handle more than 10,000 FE&D, forcible entry and detainer cases. We handle in debt claim cases on an annual basis over 7,000 cases. Traffic cases, we handle more than 10,000 traffic cases annually. We are there to provide service for the citizens of Dallas County, more specifically the citizens of Precinct 1. That is an effort that Judge Nash and I, and along with the leadership of our Constable Gully, we work to provide a proven product for the people that we serve. And we also go beyond that in terms of, we just don't sit on the bench, but we provide services for the citizens in Precinct 1. For example, the Texas rent relief, the North Texas legal, when citizens come in and they need assistance, we may not be the source, but we are the resource that can point them to the source where they can get the assistance that they stand in need of. I would stop here and let Judge Nash, where she will speak.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm not going to take up too much time. I know you have other speakers, but again, I do concur with Judge Jones and Constable Gully. We have definitely served our precinct. I appreciate your attention to making this necessary revised Map A. We agree with that, and we also want to let you know that we are continuing to serve our community, and we have increased in our numbers, especially in mental illness warrants as well. We applaud the administrator for having those navigators in our court. People are really in need, and we are continuing to serve. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioners and Judge Jenkins. I'm Judge Katina Whitfield out in Mesquite, Precinct 2, Place 2, and I am here in support of revised Map A. One of the reasons I'm in support of it is for the representation, number one. When we're talking about the growing populations, it's important to have a reach in the regions where there is more population and there are more people of color, number one. So it is important for us to be there and for us to be able to serve those people. Judge Nash and Judge Jones spoke about pre-pandemic versus pandemic evictions and things like that. With pre-pandemic evictions, we were still there and we were still offering the resources that people needed to stay in their homes. But since the pandemic, we've offered resources that kept people from being even filed on. We've had landlords come to us and get those resources to prevent having to file on one of their tenants. So the fact that we're there and the fact that we are able to help those people
is one of the reasons why I feel like MAP A, the revised MAP A, is the best option to go with, because it extends the reach of all of us to be able to, it'll take the load off of some of us, and then for quite a few of us, it will actually help us reach the people who are falling through the cracks, in a sense. Judge Nash pointed out the mental illness warrants that we have to serve, and Bill Gibson is here with me, my constable. He's here with me, and he can tell you that that has gone up a lot. Where we're located now and where our precinct ends, it sends people who live 4 minutes away from our court all the way over to Polk Street, just to have to get that emergency detention order signed, or to have to attend eviction court when there are no bus systems in Balch Springs and Seagoville and those areas. There's no buses there, so it's hard for them to get there. So I think that the convenience of MAP A revised, the convenience of that map, and the ability for us to be able to reach more people would be the reason that I'm in support of it. I don't know if Bill wanted to co-sign on anything that I'm saying here. But this is a discussion that the both of us had, and we both agree with that. I think that that's going to be the best option for us.
Judge, I do want to speak to the fact that, and again, Dr. Watkins is going to be coming forward. Nobody has spoken to how they have performed. I know the numbers speak for themselves. Precinct 1, basically outperformed any 2 courts in the county. In fact, Precinct 1 in Dallas County is right up there, according to the Office of Court Administration, with courts in even Harris County. Mm-hmm. Now, how has your court performed since you've taken office, and what did you inherit versus what has been your execution? Well,
what I inherited was just a huge mess. I inherited more than, since 1940, I've inherited old cases. I've inherited a huge backlog, and just cases that were sitting there with nothing being done to them. No.
Since the year of 1940 AD, are you saying 1940?
Yes, that was the oldest case that I had, 1940, or 1942. But you brought up the Office of Court Administration, and this is something that I've talked to you, I've had to call you and Dr. I had to call her a couple of times just to correct the numbers, because for some reason we notice almost every month that our numbers are not reflected accurately, even though they're being reported accurately. So for budgeting purposes, we have called you guys and OCA to have those numbers updated. The spreadsheet that was sent out, I guess it was yesterday, did not reflect the most accurate numbers again. And I did reach out to you guys to let you know that again. So for instance, when we had to do the math, I'm sorry?
Why is that? I mean, I have here several times reporting accurately, but not updated. Is that a problem with the computer system that you have? Is that a problem with?
I'm going to say no, because we've gotten a whole new system since I've been in office. Everyone's systems have been updated. All of my clerks have gone through formal training now, which was never done. And collectively, I have about 60 years experience in my court. But they've never gone through formal training, and our systems were updated. But the error in reporting predates even the last judge.
Well, how could that happen, Mr. Martin? I mean, can someone talk about this? I mean, I'm hearing a judge.
Dr. Watkins, okay, go ahead.
Dr. Watkins, you want to come forward? I mean, how could it be that a judge is coming here and saying, since 1940, we have not been able to report accurately? That's a strong
I don't know if it's been since 1940. I do know that
1940 is her oldest case.
That was the oldest case that I had to dismiss during the mass dismissal.
We have had issues as we visited the various courts, and as I said, presentations in the court here, wanted to know why.
We all want to know why. I mean, if we updated all the systems, how it's going, what's
Keep
going
in
on.
mind, they're still on the mainframe. So that's part of it, and we're in the process of updating the case management system. So I started here a long time ago. We've been talking about an updated JP case management system for years.
That is correct.
So I think that's part of it. And so once we get an updated case management system, I believe that'll help with the reporting, because even when they submit them to me, they're on forms. And so when the audit office do their internal audits, they're on forms and they have to go in. And what I have to do is go into the manual forfeit system and check it, like just key in different numbers just to make sure the numbers are consecutive. So I don't know if it's the best technology that we should have at this point, but I know we're working on it. I know Ms. Crawford and her team is working on it. So that will help, definitely.
We should have that system up and going by the middle of next year. I don't want to minimize the training piece. We can't make elected officials have their staff go to training. I really appreciate these guys for doing that recently, making their staff go through training, because, you know, they submit them to us. Rarely does Veronica's office or my office deny them unless there's something serious going on like a pandemic. But, you know, we can't make these guys have their staff go to training.
But I want to state for the record, all the JPs that are in my district have been doing that. And as she said, when she inherited it, they had not been to training, okay? They had not.
Ever submitting a training request.
Never. And but in district, they've all done that now. And like she talks about 60 years training. She's had to move some people out. But at the same time, one of the things with regards to the district attorney through IT went into these courts and dismissed some up to as many as 10,000 cases.
Yeah.
10, huh?
They dismissed 500,000 cases collectively.
Collectively, it was 500,000?
Yes,
Yeah. And as a result of them dismissing the case, your guys, you had to, in fact, service those dismissals. In other words, they didn't get a chance to just walk in there. I don't think people still understand the gravity, because I do have some JPs, not in my district, have not performed in that same manner. So when they dismissed all of these cases, what did you have to do?
Well, our court had to actually go in and physically pull those cases, make sure that we had actual case files and everything that was reflected on the IT report was accurate. We had to pull those cases, we had to archive them, log them, archive them, and send them out, and just to make sure that once IT got involved, because we started the project in February, actually, our court did. And when we started the project in February, IT wasn't involved. This was actually the DA coming out and filing dismissals, motions for dismissals on each and every single case. It wasn't until mid-2019 when IT got involved to streamline the process, but it did not take away from the fact that we physically, all of the judges, our clerks, we physically had to put in that extra time, those extra hours to go in. And you guys sent us, I believe, 4 temporary clerks to help facilitate that process. But there was a lot of work involved just to make sure that we were able to get those backlog cases archived, filed, and dismissed.
And one of the reasons the district attorney dismissed those cases, again, they all weren't 1942 cases, but a lot of them had aged. Had aged in a way that the district attorney, now I just want the record to be complete, the district attorney no longer felt as though he or she, they could prosecute the case,
right.
which was an efficiency move, and I didn't know that there were 500,000 across the universe, but that's a lot of cases. But what I'm saying is that other than temporary employees, I'm back to those service districts, other than temporary employees, your staff had to continue to perform the day-to-day operations, which,
Yes, because we did not want to backlog cases that were coming in just to work the backlog cases. So we had to keep our day-to-day operations moving smoothly, as to not create a current backlog.
and that's not only your court, but like I said, I won't talk about who has not performed, but at least in the district, as I visited the courts, your court, along with the judges that are present today, have performed at expectations and archived and or dismissed those cases
Yes.
while continuing to operate.
Yes. And some of us, we actually added extra dockets. And I know that Precinct 1 had already done night and weekend courts. I don't remember what the schedule was for their weekend courts. But I took their example to try to get some of those cases moved out and keep the cases that were current caught up. Because when I took office, I think there were 147 civil cases alone that had not, and they were from the year before, that had not even been served. So I had to just move those through so those citations can be issued and served and get those cases moved through so we would not create more of a backlog.
So you, like Precinct 1, worked in the evenings and tried to catch?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. But again, I just think that it was a disservice to the community. It was a disservice to the people who we do serve, number one. And and I think that a lot of the backlog came because there are some areas where people didn't have access to the courts like they should. Over time, there was not, I'm sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead, Judge.
And I just think that over time, that's how that backlog could have happened, or that contributed to the backlog, is that people not having access to the courts. So I think that MAP A revised would actually open up that access a little bit more, especially with the growing population.
Excellent. No, and I agree with everything you say, Judge. At the end of the day, Dr. Watkins just put it on the record very straight out. Mainframe, and we need to update the case management system, which has been a long, long process where we started with one system, didn't work out. We had to move away from it. So, it's something that this court is very aware of, and it's probably part of the challenge that you all have had, as a whole. I think IT and our IT committee is very dedicated now to be sure that that upgrade happens on schedule. I hope, Mr. Martin, and with my colleagues here that are in the IT committee, will consolidate that to happen, because that will be a big step forward to avoid the discussion that we're having right now on redistricting. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to commend y'all for, during the pandemic, we were able to rely on you while talk about those 2 or 3 JPs. There were JPs where we have 2 that were not performing, and as such, y'all became a catch net for the other places that kept their doors closed and their staff was not present. Both that was in the East and in the West. And so there were people not performing. I think Mr. Martin said it earlier, we're not in a position to do anything other than construct the budget and advise you how to perform given the metrics that you've demonstrated in your courts, whether it's training or you showing up for work. Unfortunately, that's left to the electorate. And as I said, there are people in your district that kept their court closed. They were calling my office, and I was referring them. And I think the constable in your district will will also speak to that, but not only in that district, it happened in the West as well. So that's all I have, Judge.
Any other questions? I have a 10:30 eviction
I
docket.
wanted to follow up on the disparities in the numbers and seeing where in the process, because I think there have been changes in the state that may have done some of that, but I would be very interested in knowing, just to see that we in fact are sending the numbers in and that they're coming back correctly.
So, like I said, it's a discussion that we have, and it's a call that my chief clerk and I have to make just about every month. Not only
Let's
to,
talk later about it then.
right, not only to OCA, but, just to make sure that it's reflecting accurately in budgeting too. And like Ronica said, she goes in just to check, and has to manually update that. So the reason why I brought that up is because an Excel spreadsheet was sent to us that was pulled from OCA, where I noticed again that the numbers were not reflecting accurately. If you look at some of the, you look at the courts, what was filed versus what was disposed of, you'll see the discrepancies. When you have 4,000 cases filed and 21,000 disposed of, you'll see the discrepancies on your own. But it's not reporting accurately, is what I'm getting at.
There's an issue someplace.
I'm sorry, what?
There's an issue someplace.
Yes. And we just haven't gotten to the bottom of it. We don't know where it is yet.
I'd like to follow up on that then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the only reason the issue revealed itself was because, again, I was trying to make a comparison from court to court. And so as a result, when I challenged him, then Dr. Watkins went in, did an extraction, and said, that there's a problem. And especially when I say something to the judges. They said, no, that there is an issue here. So, okay, I know you got a docket. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I received a text from Judge Margaret O'Brien also, and she was unable to attend because of her docket, but she wanted to show support for the revised MAP A.
Constable Gibson, did you want to say anything? Are you good, or?
Good morning to the court, County Judge. Constable Bill Gibson, Precinct 2, covering the eastern side of Dallas County, representing the people and the constituents out there with Judge Whitfield, Judge O'Brien. So just real quick, I think we pretty much have heard in favor of the revised MAP A. And so the biggest thing is remembering the concept of service and what we're here for, and that's to serve the people of this great county as well as the great nation. So I just want to say that that's what we have to continue to main focus on, and that's to serve the people and make sure that we are representing the people and representing the people of Dallas County and what we've seen in the census, and that's to ensure that the people of color do have proper representation as well as the county as a whole. And so thank you all for what we're doing this morning, and looking forward to hearing from Dr. Watkins. Thank you.
Thank you,
Any
Constable.
questions?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Constable.
And Judge, the only reason I asked, again, Dr. Watkins, she issued it out as Commissioner Garcia said, with regards to performance. I think the numbers speak for themselves. And what Constable Gully was talking about in terms of papers, at some point in time, that we're going to have to revisit the really amount of time that is spent with regards to these papers. We get those calls, we talk to them, but papers are stamped, they're time sensitive. Either we're hearing from lawyers, or we're hearing, from plaintiffs with regards to service of papers. From everything, I can glean, they're doing it timely, but with some real challenges because of the way we've appropriated our staff. And so we need to be able to do an overview. how many writs are going in, how many to judgment, how many writs of sequestration, how many writs of execution, and even with the forcibles, and I think, again, Dr. Garcia talked about a few minutes ago, post-pandemic, this gate is probably going to, floodgates going to open. But again, those papers are time sensitive. They don't get a chance just to hold those papers. They have to make so many attempts, and what we've got to do is call that to see categorically, what's going on. Some districts are going to be easier to service than others. Talk about North versus South. Whether it's FE enforceable entry detainers or writs, it's different. And a lot of those out of county are writ of executions, with judgment, and that is a whole different deal. And the only reason I have some knowledge, like I say, having worked for 10 years in the justice court, I understand what they're up against. And now that they've got a different value in terms of judgment, I can't even imagine what they're up against. Okay, Judge, I don't have anything else.
Are there any further public speakers? Are there any further public speakers? Hearing none, I'll say.
Hold on, Judge, just ladies. Yes, come on.
Good morning. My name is Bernetta Jo Young, and I'm a resident of Cedar Hill. And I've never been in this format before, so
What is your address, Ms. Young?
My address is 1130 Ritz, Cedar Hill, Texas, then that address will change in the morning. But I've never been in this format before. This is my first time at the Commissioner's Court, so I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Am I able to ask questions here, or am I just able to speak? Okay, so let me just go ahead and speak, and I can speak in a format that maybe my questions will get answered. I was listening to the maps that Mr. Engel presented, and what I would like to see or to get more information on is to be able to re-highlight what he focused on and show us the changes from Map A to the revised Map A, and to highlight some of those advantages again. So me as
It's already out there. That's what benchmark.
Okay.
That's what benchmark means.
Okay.
And then the others, it's already there.
I know, but to talk them out so that, we can't just say what those are, some of those changes from the A to the revised A.
You need to read them.
Okay.
They're there. He's presented them, and he's justified why he's presented them.
Okay, and then I'll ask this another way, so since I can't say it as a question as well, as when I'm hearing from Commissioner Price and Commissioner Garcia as we talk about revised Map A, some of the advantages that they see in revision A. But I would...
Well, all he is saying is it reflects the demographic change in Dallas County, and thusly, the political pendulum swing in Dallas County. That's basically what he said. The only difference between the benchmark map and revised Map A is the fact that we had a courthouse that was not in the district. Plus, in the data, there was a performance issue with regards to Sheriff Valdez, and I think that was in District 3. So there was that performance issue was less with Sheriff Valdez, and the fact that the courthouse at St. Francis was on the wrong side of the freeway.
I think because we had posted original Map A and then we had posted revised Map A.
Yeah.
So what I'll do on the website is I'll put both of those up and have an explanation underneath the difference between the original Map A that was out and the revised Map A that we replaced online.
What we just did.
Yeah. So,
Okay, gotcha.
So we'll have it on the record
Sure.
here, but we'll also have it online for the public to see.
Sure, no problem. Okay.
Go ahead.
that's all I had to say. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Judge,
And also, Mr. Engel, make sure to get the numbers right on the little, okay.
Well, all the other numbers, except for Dr. Garcia, you're gonna recalculate the cumulative of the numbers between, the maps. And then Commissioner Cotton asked about the courthouses. Place the courthouses in there, in each map.
We will send to Mr. Martin maps that indicate where the county facilities are, and then also what, in the tables, it looks as though they're, because we were dealing with one map with 5 districts, actually 2 maps with 5 districts, another map with 8 districts, another map with 4 districts, and some of those tables ended up getting into the other map, so it shifted the numbers particularly in that Senate race. And so we'll resolve those as well. And I apologize for that discrepancy.
Not a problem.
Okay, and can we get all that done, Matt, before my town hall tonight today at 4? So that we can put those share the screen with the people that are at the town hall?
We will do our very best. We should be able to do that, yes.
And what I think I'm hearing, I just want to kind of get a feel from the court, for purposes of our town halls, it seems that the majority of the court is coalesced around revised map A. Is that fair? Okay.
That's right.
Okay. And the court's not ready to pick one either, or are they, as far, I guess?
Well, I just thought this was, no, we can't, Judge. This was just a hearing to lay it out, and we will.
The announcement to vote was in November. We can't change that.
We'll have an order on at the next meeting for both districts.
I'm not asking you for a vote. I'm just, as people are asking questions about the map, I don't want to get them too wrapped around the axles of talking a long time about JP Map C, if JP Map C is a non-starter or whatever. Okay, well, that helps me. All right, are there any public speakers? Any further public speakers? Any further public speakers?
Make a motion that the hearing close on the JP and Constables redistricting map.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Only thing left before us is the court order number 1. There is no closed session, correct?
That is correct.
Correct. All right. Is there a motion on court order number 1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I will abstain. And
So it's a 4.
4-0 and 1 abstention.
Yes.
That's all that we have for this court meeting. No action is necessary, so the court stands adjourned.